Hey guys, Mr. Baines here to talk about the scientific method. Let's go ahead and get started. First thing you have to do, add this to your table of contents. Make sure your page number and your date are correct. Go ahead and pause it. Okay, these are our learning objectives. You could read these if you'd like. Basically, we're going to learn how to think like scientists. Okay, to do that, we're going to learn the steps of the scientific method. These are the steps of the scientific method, which you already do whenever you solve a problem. These are the steps you follow, but you probably just didn't know they have names. So now we're going to give them names. Finish this tip chart and then add scientific method to your index with the correct page number. Go ahead and pause it. Okay. Draw this circular flow map in your notebook. Go ahead and pause it. All right, the first thing we're going to talk about is ask a question. All right, so scientists need to come up with a question, or other science teachers might call it a purpose. All right, so make sure the question is testable. If you can't test your question, it's actually not scientific. All right, so here's the example. When Mr. Baines was in middle school, he saw this girl that he liked and thought, does this cute girl like me? Well, this question can be tested. I could ask her if she likes me, or try and find another way to test it. All right, so this is actually a scientific question. Come up with your own example of a scientific question. Make sure it's testable. Go ahead and pause it. All right. Next, you'll add this to your circular flow map. You don't need the color. I just put it in there to make it easier for you to see. Go ahead and pause it. Okay. The next step is collect data, or I'm not going to call it collect data. I'm going to call it research. So you need to research your question and find out everything you can about the question before you test it. Okay? So I did some research. I thought about myself. I thought, if I like someone, then I look at them a lot. And if I like someone and they tell a joke, I laugh a lot. And I noticed that other people do this too. So I thought she probably does that as well. Next, I came up with my variables. Okay, so my independent variable, how often she looks at me or laughs at one of my silly jokes. And this will determine if she likes me or not. Okay. Add this to your circular flow map about the scientific method. Go ahead and pause it. Okay. Next, we need to make a hypothesis, make a prediction. I thought, if she looks at me or laughs at one of my jokes 30 times in a class period, then she must like me. All right, so this is the format for a hypothesis. You write if, and then the independent variable, then the dependent variable. All right. So add this to your circular flow map. Go ahead and pause it. Okay. Next, you need to conduct an experiment. You need to come up with an experiment, so design it. So this is what I did. I had a paper and a pencil in front of me, and then I sat my friend in front of me, and then every time she looked at the back of my head or laughed at one of my jokes or something, my friend would kick me in the shin. Okay, and then I would count the number of times that I got kicked. Okay, so add this to your circular flow map. Go ahead and pause it. All right. Next, I need to analyze the information. So after I do my experiment, I need to look at the data. So this is what I ended up writing on my paper. Okay, so she looked at me 10 times. I told 5 jokes. She only laughed at 1 of them. All right. So I made a data table. and I put it in there. So what I want you to do is add this to your table of contents. Go ahead and pause it. All right. I didn't know it was called a data table at the time, okay, but this is where you collect your information. It's just an easy way to see it. This is what you do during analyze information. And the final step is I need to report my results. All right. This is how we're going to use, or how we're going to write conclusions or report our results in science. So it might either be called a conclusion or reporting our results. Both are correct. If you notice, literacy classes are using the style of Peel, the Peel format, and this also follows Peel. Okay, so this is how you write a good conclusion. And I went ahead and wrote one for you. Oops, looks like the RE got cut off there. So it's report results or conclusion. All right, so I said, in this experiment, I was trying to find out if this cute girl liked me. My hypothesis was, if this girl looks at me or laughs at my jokes 30 times in a period, then she likes me. In the period, she looked at me 10 times and only laughed at 1 out of my 5 jokes. My hypothesis was not supported because she didn't look at me very much or laugh at my jokes, so she must not like me back. I learned that she didn't like me. But if I could do this experiment again, I will try a less painful way of counting how many times she looks at me. I also learned how to tell if people like each other based on their behavior. Okay. So I told what more I'd want to know from this thing, and I decided not to ask her out. And so the end of the story is I didn't ask her out and nothing happened. What went wrong? And how can I make it better? Sometimes we'll ask that in or you'll write that in the conclusion. So add this final thing to the circular flow map. Go ahead and pause it. All right. This last arrow needs to go on here as well because a scientific method never ends. You solve a problem, and at the end of the problem, you'll almost always have another question that you want to answer. So this is how the scientific method works. It doesn't really matter where you start. Sometimes you start with a hypothesis, and then you go through it, and now you have a new hypothesis. Sometimes you start with a graph or a data table that you see, and you come up with some ideas about it, and you come up with a question about it, and then you do some research, you make a hypothesis, conduct an experiment, and then you make new information. This is just how the scientific method works. That is it for this video, except for you have to turn in an assignment. So go to Google Classroom. You guys should know how to get there by now. All right, so here we are on Google Classroom. I don't know why it takes so long to load. I already loaded it. All right, there's a posting that says Scientific Method Video Questions. So I've watched the video. I need to answer the following questions. So I click Open. It'll take me to my assignment. I'll open this, answer the questions, then I'll click the blue Turn In button. All right. Okay, so I just need to answer these questions and then click Turn In. That's it. That's all for this video. I'll see you next time.